Let's talk about starting. Lots of times people get psyched out by a blank piece of paper or a blank canvas because there's too much potential. There's too many ways, too many decisions to make, maybe too many ways to mess it up, you might be thinking. But most of the time, you just need to start doing something. Just like any other habit you want to make, just like any other skill you want to build, you have to do something in order to react to something, to make something better, to make something what you want it to be. So today is all about starting. Okay, we're going to work through, I have 12 6x6 papers here we're going to work on. I'm going to show you how to make quick decisions, just go with it, make something, and then you can use these. Maybe you'll end up loving them how they are. I don't know. Maybe you'll want to keep adding to them later. There's no wrong way to do this, so let's get started. Starting out with a friendly reminder, you do not have to go buy special paper if you want to work small. These are 12 by 12 acrylic paper sheets. I will link to them in the description if I remember. If not, remind me in the comments. And I'm cutting them into 6x6 squares. I happen to have a fancy paper cutter that I freeboxed from my neighborhood Facebook group. Thank you, Jill. And you can just use scissors. You don't need to overthink it. This is some fluorescent red. I'd like to do everything with fluorescent red. Pick any color you like that maybe is a little bolder than you would normally use, or your favorite color, and use one tool to spread it. I'm using a catalyst wedge, just a silicone, kind of a bowl scraper situation, and put paint on the board in different ways. So each paper that you use, and I would recommend doing this all at the same time. A couple ways to start. You could also just have one giant sheet of paper and cut it up later, which I also love to do. In this situation, though, I'm trying to make quick decisions, add one thing or two things to each small page as I go. Then every time I switch my paint color, I also recommend taping them down. Just put a little tape on the back if you're going to use your hair dryer or your heat gun so they don't go flying all over the place. Or if you're up for adventure, let them fly. Every time I'm adding a new color, I'm using a different tool. This is a credit card or an old gift card of some sort. Actually, this might be a business card. This is a business card that I took from a little cafe in Eagle River, Wisconsin. I think it was called Lucy's Lunchbox. Super cute breakfast place. Anyway, they're not sponsoring this video, but I want to use a different tool each time just because the marks, even though granted a lot of these marks look similar, they're not. There's subtle differences that make it just interesting enough to let your eye continue to be curious and move around each page. I used a pencil in between as well, which is hard to see from this view, just to make some pencil marks. Have some little lines because little lines are very different than large strokes of paint. This is me mixing a never-ending green that I didn't like for a while and eventually made into a more of an olive green, that color. I'm using a brush that is very damaged and only the very ends of the bristles are flexible. I don't know what I did to it, but clearly I left paint in it for too long. So it left very rough, kind of rugged marks on it. It's not the word I'm looking for. What's the word when you, like, kind of distressed? How about that? But it's giving me a darker value, which is nice. It's different enough that it looks like a new color. And the application, the size of the quote brush strokes I'm using, even with the credit card, even with the color shaper, or the catalyst wedge, excuse me, the size of the marks is similar, but what I'm using to put them on is different. This is a China marker. For those of you, people have been asking about what a China marker is. A China marker is just a grease pencil. I don't know why it's called a China marker. I think because people used to write on dishes. Like people could use it you could write on porcelain with it. And it could just be because it's made in China. Like maybe it originated in China. I have no idea. If anyone would like to Google it and let us know in the comments, by all means, go for it. I wanted to do some glazing next. In order to protect the bare paper that I have here, because all of the white is not paint, some of the white is just bare paper, I'm using a layer of gloss medium before I do my glazing. This does two things. One, it allows me to wipe the glazing off if I don't like it, because otherwise it's going to soak into the paper. And then once it soaks into the paper, I cannot take it off. So there's the ability to change my mind, but also it will allow like an even application of the glaze. If I leave it bare paper, which often I do when I glaze, it will soak in differently where there's bare paper, and it will stay on top of everything like a lighter application on top of the areas that have already been painted or glazed. Or glossed with gloss medium. So not a necessary step. None of these are necessary steps, but this is what I chose to do at this time. It takes a little bit of time, but it's not that big of a deal. And it dries so fast because what I use is really thin. So now when I want to glaze, I can take a wet paper towel, baby wipe, rag, whatever you have handy, put some water on it, and I'm adding this green gold, which is brightening things up quite a bit. I really love a punch of green gold in there. And with glazing, you're adding wet paint, but it's kind of watered down. And then you're removing a lot of it as well. So you're leaving a hint of the color behind, or as much of the color as you want behind. But you can use it differently. If you want to make a bold line, great. You can make a bold line that's very transparent, but still punchy, right? You can put it on white. In this situation, on white it shows up the most. You can also have it that it kind of fades out, because you can put it on and then wipe most of it off. So the color, you kind of can't really tell where the color starts or where it ends. And you can also glaze over the entire thing. People do that all the time. If you're working with different pages that don't go together, one way to bring them into the same collection or the same series is to just glaze all of them with the same color. And then you're kind of starting with a similar background and you can build from there. I'm not doing any of that today. I'm just adding a little bit. So it's a different application of paint. It's thinner, it's transparent, it goes over the other colors and impacts the other colors because again, it's transparent. I'm adding some metallic gold now. So this is Sun Gold from Nova Color Paints. It goes on, it's hard to tell from this angle too, sorry. It goes on so that from some angles it's almost transparent if you put it on quite thin. There you can see more of the metallic color because I put it on a little thicker. You can leave just a little hint of it so that you only see it when the pages move and you see the reflective nature. You can put it on more thickly and it looks like a gold, but it is metallic. And I love this for just a little extra, a little flair. And because it's so transparent, or it can be so transparent, it's a way to add something special that's not overpowering. And if you're using yellows or yellow ochre or, anything that's anywhere in the yellow family, it blends enough that it just gives that yellow a little extra zing. So I was experimenting with each one to see how much I wanted to add, where I wanted to add it. In some places I added more, some places I added just a tiny little bit. Putting on the edge, putting it in the middle. Again, there's no wrong way to do this. The goal is to add something different each time. I'm using now a darker olive green Neocolor crayon that is water soluble. Again, sorry about the distance from the camera. You have to trust me on this. That one I didn't like, so I wiped it off. That's the other advantage too with putting gloss medium between layers. When I didn't like the way that the Neocolor looked, I added too much and it just looked messy. I just wiped it off completely with a wet cloth. Easy peasy. So the goal here is to start. Just put paint on papers. The more papers you have, hopefully, the easier it is because they become less precious. Each one you can let go of a little more and distance yourself a little bit more because you have so many backups. So one thing will be your favorite through one round. You'll add some more paint. Now you have a new favorite. Okay, try to play down that favorite so you don't have a special, precious one. Do another round, probably a different one will be your favorite. It's amazing how quickly they can change. And you don't have to do a ton to end up with fun results that you may want to just stop where you are at this point. Or you can continue and keep building layers as you go. And this is what I've ended with. I'm really happy with these. They were a lot of fun to make. Quick and easy. Don't think too much. Grab your paints. And let me know in the comments, what are your favorite colors to work with? I've been getting more on this green train lately, ever since I made the green series for my husband's garden. I would love to hear what's your go-to color for your first brushstrokes on a piece of paper or a canvas. Let me know in the comments.